Hey guys, Sean here from Momentum once again, and welcome to listening to my YouTube, or if you are also listening to this, you might be listening to this on my podcast. Now today I want to talk about a topic that a lot of people have been asking, and it's always about the fact that they've done calorie counting in the past, and right now what I want to do is actually explain why it's not working for you. So maybe you've in the past used a macro calculator. Maybe you've used it on just a website. Maybe you've followed a formula. There's a few out there from the find out your basal metabolic rate, times it by your activity level, and you followed it, but it hasn't given you the results you're looking for. You either haven't seen a change in muscle mass, weight going up or down, might I add. And the reason why it's not working is what we're going to talk about today. Now, first of all, I want to say out there in first statement, if you're using a macro calculator, it is not a calculator. It is incorrect. Because the one thing that we want to say and really put out there is the fact that when you are using a macro calculator, it's only an estimator. It doesn't actually calculate anything. It estimates everything. Now, this will make more sense if you actually used one. Maybe you haven't. So if you just go into Google and you type in macro calculator, or even saying that calorie counter or calorie calculator, should I say, this will be really useful information for you to understand. And it will ask you several questions. It will ask you, first of all, your age. Then it will ask you your weight. Then it will ask you your activity level. And usually that's a very broad term. Are you active, lightly active, somewhat active, not active? Now that can change to everyone's description, and it's not as accurate as you like it to be. It's as accurate as it can be, but not as accurate as it could be. And this is what I'm here to inform you. It also will ask you for your gender as well, because we know that different hormones will start to affect how your metabolism works, especially when it comes to muscle mass, one of the best things that you can use. So anyway, if you're using a macro calculator and it's not getting you the results, the reason why is because it's an estimator. And there's only one real thing that you need to do when it comes to using calories and calculators, and it's to test it. It's a great guideline for everyone to use, but usually when I use a macro calculator, it's not really that accurate, and I give it about 15% leeway. Now, as someone as experienced as myself, this is how I tend to work with a lot of people. I first always go, hey, look, what's your age and your gender, and what is your activity level as well? But in my head, I'm not using a basal metabolic rate. I first go with the first thing, which is to give people 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. Now, I do have some other rules that I use as well, but that's something that I use with my clients and I test each time. So the only way that you can actually start to use a macro calculator to benefit you, everyone, is to make sure you actually test it. Now, these are the reasons why that you are not doing it correctly. The first one is you don't know how to actually input proper information. When you're using a macro calculator, you also need to know that you're counting the calories consistently. So for example, if you're counting things as raw weight and putting it into your MyFitnessPal, but then on a later time, you're actually doing it as cooked weight, this is an inconsistency. And we always tell people to try and choose one or the other, or even saying that, we try and tell people to do it for at least 3 weeks so that the averages start to balance out. Because then though you're not 100%, which nothing is 100% might I add, you are going to at least have a consistency whether you like it or not. And then now when we start to make changes for you, the consistencies will start to be factored in. The next thing as well is maybe you don't have a consistent eating pattern. Because your inconsistencies with an eating pattern and different recipes, you still don't know what to do with each one, and it requires practice. This is why in our group coaching calls, as well as for our private members, what we do is always have an avenue for people to ask these questions. I've had people have cheese toasties and go, what do I do with this? How do I find cheese toastie on a MyFitnessPal? And what we do is actually coach them through and go, hey, look, this is what you would do, and using smart guesstimations and also coach them through it. When problems arise, you always want to find a solution. It's not matter if you have a problem, it's about when you have a problem. And that's what coaching can do for you. Saying that, if you're someone who loves to cook, but don't know how to put things to MyFitnessPal, check out the description box below on YouTube, and you will see a link where you can download a free recipe cookbook which we provide to every single one of our members. This is so great because now you actually have a recipe cookbook that gives you all the ingredients, how to do it, and they're very simple. And might I add, they also have the macros and a barcode for you to be able to scan and use, saving you some time as well. So we've gone through the fact that you're logging in incorrectly, and you've got irregular eating patterns, and a cookbook can help you with that. And once you start to eat the same thing on rotation, maybe you have 50 recipes for breakfast in your head, 50 recipes for lunch in your head, and 50 recipes for dinner and snacks as well, you tend to go, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. And your app should also start to go, you use that quite often. So when you type it in, it's there. Now the third one is maybe you're not actually understanding what macros are. Now we have another video for that, but that's okay. What I'm talking about when you don't know what a macro is, I used to coach a lot of people and I say, hey, look, it's a good idea for you to start doing this. And they go, yeah, I love this. And then what happens is they go, you know what? I need to eat some more protein. And what they put is a banana. And go, so yeah, I had some protein, have a look. So what they're doing is a input, but not actually inputting into their head of what they're actually eating. It's about learning the response. And what we always want to do for every single person out there is eventually you should be learning how to be intuitive with your diet. MyFitnessPal is a great tool, but should you be using it for every single meal, every single part of your day? Probably not. And if you're having that problem, it's because you haven't taken on board to go, how do I become intuitive without using MyFitnessPal? Now I'm at that stage where I can do it quite well, and I try to use MyFitnessPal at least once or twice per week. But for example, in my Fit by 30 goal right now, I have 75 grams of carbs, I have 190 grams of protein, and I also have 90 grams of fat. I know that by heart because that's what I've actually got programmed for me, and I've put it on the back of my phone, it's on my MyFitnessPal, but I haven't actually put anything to MyFitnessPal because I'm so confident that I know I'm under. The reason why is because A, I've got regular eating patterns, and B, I've weighed the same food each time. So in my head, I know that when I eat my 3 lunch boxes of chicken thighs, it's 150 grams per box, and I know that's roughly going to be around 40 grams of protein per box. I've eaten all 3 boxes, I don't need to put that into MyFitnessPal every single day. And then later at night in my head, I go, well, I haven't had any carbohydrates. I feel like some potato chips, I may feel like some cereal, I may feel like a sandwich, whatever it might be, I can now start to work with it. So for everyone out there, this is why your macro calculator is not 100%, it's an estimator. And this is why you have to follow those 3 steps to make sure you can become intuitive. When you learn to do this, then you can start to take control of actually enjoying your food. Because if you're still listening to this far, you already know there's no such thing as a good food and a bad food, but you're understanding that when it comes to actually food itself, you're going to enjoy it by actually seeing how it fits into your day. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone out there, this can be very, very overwhelming. And this is why we have so much information and education for our private clients within our portal. So if you want to become a member of Momentum and learn more things through this portal and also have a point of reference to keep asking these questions, join us. And all you have to do is click the link in the bio below and apply. This is where I can actually help you, nurture you, and actually teach you what to do with your macros. Or even saying that, take that pressure off you and you don't have to actually calculate your macros. I'll be your calculator. All you have to do is eat it. And if you get stuck, you ask the questions and we guide you through along the way. Thank you once again, everybody. I hope this was informative to you out there, especially if you've been using macro calculators and you've been following it, but it doesn't make any sense and you just don't know what to do afterwards. It can be really overwhelming. If you found this video really informative, just do me one really quick favor. Give it a thumbs up. You don't understand how much this helps me because all I want to do is help as many people as possible. I can actually have this podcast and video float around the world, and you can listen to it and reach as many people as possible. That means the world to me, and that's what I want to do. The next thing is, if you can, share it with a friend who may be going through this problem and has actually followed a macro calculator but doesn't know what to do with it. The next thing is, comment down below and let me know what do you have problems with. I'll create a video to help you out with it, and you can see how you can start to break through your plateaus. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Take care and keep building momentum.